Hey, so got here my mini game jam 133 submission, which was I'm a tower defense, slapdash 5 second title environment defense because the limitation was control your environment. And there was also a theme of fusion, which uh I wasn't really able to get to that well. I just ran out of time. I can talk about that, but yeah, so it's like in the vein of control your environment, environment themed tower defense. Tower defense is like relatively easy to um set up. It's pretty much all in the UI. Once you have the UI to place stuff, everything else just automatically happens. I also was thinking of the possibility of like an auto battler where instead of an auto battler, if you think about it, is just like a turn-based tower defense. But yeah, I thought that implementation would take more time, and I already ran out of time. 72 hours is such a tiny amount of time, especially when isometric grid adds some complications. Anyway, going through this real quick. So the one thing I think that works pretty well with this is starts out like this grayscale devoid of life, and since stuff like appears as you place it and gains color, it makes it feel like it comes to life. Um, I saw some of the like feedback screenshots got to a like much further than I had ever gotten. Because unfortunately I only had like 5 minutes to. I mean 5 minutes, yeah, pretty much 5 minutes because I didn't know how long it was gonna take to like rebuild it and upload it, and I was worried about running out of time. So I only was able to test to like round three before I had to do a slight tweak and like turn it in. Just poor time management in the you know the 72 hours. Anyway, but yeah, so you place plants down. Here I have these plants are just like spikes basically if you things take damage by walking over them. Also you can make caves. So and then put animals in them. Oh, am I running out of money? Yeah, I want to make sure I don't accidentally die. And you can also do a hill, which just attacks in a line as a like a land side. All right, let's send some stuff. Um, so yeah, there's so many things actually that sort of came in too late. First of all, I wanted to have also like an element thing to it where you can make like fire trees or ice trees. And that could be like the fulfillment. Oh, I got hit there. The fulfillment of the fusion aspect, where you could potentially fuse multiple elements together to have towers that like could do special things with specific properties. Stuff like the like fire applying a blot or not a blot, a damage over time effect, or like leaving a pool on the ground. Ice can slow stuff like that. Um, and the idea would be that if you could you could either just do multiple of the same to make the effect more extreme, like a greater damage, greater slow, whatever. Or you could have like a lesser version of both effects, like it where I could have a slow and then also a damage over time. So that's like what the stuff up here is going to be. The thing on the left was supposed to be the upgrade thing you click for your plants and animals, and the thing on the right was supposed to be the upgrade thing you click for your elements. But just ran out of time. So I have money for more stuff. I should buy more income generating stuff. I like the idea of income in tower defenses and stuff, but I feel like that makes it harder to balance. And considering I like spent again 5 minutes trying to balance the numbers really quick, I doubt the income balancing is very good. So it seems like actually if I can make it through, I should just spam income if I want to be able to like buy whatever I want in a few rounds. So this base just grass gives you a little bit of income. And then you can also fill dens with rabbits, which give a multiplier, like I think it's 5% stacking additively on the income. So yeah, plus 200. I think you're also getting like 50 around or something. Again, all these numbers are like, I did a random first guess, and then I made sure like the first 90 seconds was beatable, and that's it. Unfortunately, I really think I only would have needed maybe 45 minutes, 90 minutes to tune that a lot better. And to have some actual difficulty. I don't even know if you like are spending all your money on at least a few attacking towers and not like entirely on income. I don't even know if it's possible to lose this. But yeah, I'm just gonna keep adding some income here. Although I do want to be careful not to. I should be more thoughtful about where I'm placing stuff because there is no cell. That's another like core tower defense thing that was missing. That's probably like the first thing I ended up cutting when I was working on this, because stuff like this hill thing where you're clicking on the cliff, but it also affects the thing up here. Also the two-stage part of the animal thing. It just like it seemed like it was going to be really hard to unravel the changes to the grid that I was doing when you were buying things, because like that code is not very clean. It's definitely game jam code. I'll go into a little bit of that later, how show you some of the worst, but yeah, so that was like the first thing I cut. I'm like, dude, I don't know how I'm gonna remember to like despawn this hill, and then I have to update the dictionary, and then I have to, you know, destroy the game object. I'm gonna need a dictionary of game objects to make sure that I can like index them when I go to sell them. But I do think that's something that should probably be in this type of game, so that's probably one of the first things I'll look to add. I'll do like a couple more rounds here, just juicing my income, and then I'll go look at this stuff in more detail. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what I could have. Maybe I should have just cut the hill thing. Because that was like the most outlier of the features, sort of, that had its own like special logic and stuff like that. I don't feel like I can cut all the animals, because then you only have like 4 things. It's just not enough things. I feel like part of the appeal of this type of game is you want to try out all the different things and see how like they're different and whatnot. But I feel like that appeal is definitely lessened without the time to actually set up the numbers properly. Because you know, like the promise, there's like kind of an implicit promise in, say, if I go here, where's the best then to be, like right here? Say like the crocodile here costs 900. I think there's like an appeal there of, oh, I want to keep playing to save up some money to see like how much this like expensive thing wrecks people. But like, does it deliver on that? I have no idea. I spent 5 seconds giving it slightly more damage or something. So probably not. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm just sort of repeating the core idea here of I should have spent more time on game logic. But again, I'm not really sure what I could cut. I guess hills. Hills would be the thing to cut. Because, like, these I mean, like, it's part of the problem makes them not as interesting as they could be. But, you know, they're all basically the same game logic. It's very slight changes in properties that are making this shoot in a line versus this shooting in, like, a circle. And like rabbits is that's just like counting it up how many there are in the game manager when it's doing income. And then these other guys are just more powerful shooting in a line and shooting in a wider circle. So this is all dead simple. Like cutting down a fewer number of animals or plants I don't think would have been helpful. Well, I guess there's less numbers to balance. So indirectly it would help in that it makes the task of balancing easier. But at the same time, I don't know that it would have made it small enough to, because really what's the word? The bottleneck would be build time. Because like a build and upload process could take anywhere from like 5 to 10 minutes probably. So if I'm getting in under the deadline, I can't stop. I can only go till like 10 minutes before at the absolute latest, and that's like playing with fire. And since I'm also like about to test everything else, you have to be doing this iteration in like an actual game build on the fully uploaded version to just make sure everything is actually working in the real version, and checking for any bugs that might be specific to your like release version, because that can happen sometimes where a bug won't happen in the Unity editor, but it will happen in the release version. So you have to be testing in the browser pretty much, and uploading a new change to the browser takes like 5 to 10 minutes. So, and if you find a bug when you're testing in browser, like really the bug needs to get fixed probably before you can spend some time thinking about the balancing. And then, well, to make sure you fix the bug, you need to upload a new release version. And it's not like you can keep working while your computer is building the game. I can't just keep working. Unity is busy. Maybe that's an argument for offloading stuff to a build machine. But yeah, you can see here, handful of income, barely paying attention, mostly talking about it. Not really thoughtfully placing towers except this initial strip of trees that like everybody needs to go by. And I'm 2,500. I'm pretty sure if I dumped that 2,500 into towers, I would never lose a life again. And even like casually leaking over the time, I still have 18 lives left, plenty. So yeah, they're definitely way too easy, which is unfortunate and not balanced. So yeah, I wanna go. Oh, I guess here is I should probably put a link in the chat. People want to go try. There's a link in the chat. But I do want to go specifically review the feedback. I've already kind of seen it, but just like you know, go through it all individually. Okay, so on score, presentation 3.75, 20. 3.542. 27. I should have done these numbers in the other order so I can just read them directly off the chart. Now I have to flip them in my mind. Okay, so reviewing this, weakest scores on concept, which I think is fair, because tower defense is kind of like the number two most basic. If like number one is like a platformer, number two would be tower defense. Um, so I don't know. I guess it maybe the fusion upgrade system would give me a little bit of help there, just to give it, because I think concept is broadly meant to be like creativity and interestingness. So yeah, it just needed more of a twist. I don't think there basically is no twist here. It's just uh it's just a tower defense on an isometric grid basically. Um so yeah, I guess that's more creativity. Twist should be a higher priority for game to be creative and interesting, or to be interesting, special. I'm gonna close this. Yeah, maybe slightly zoom out, zoom out, zoom out. Cool. Interesting, especially in the case where you're doing a very basic genre like tower defense. I don't think there's gonna be any feedback to that effect just because people are usually pretty nice in the H comment feedback. Um, okay, this is like practical feedback. I'll try and bucket this in a second. So enjoyment, I think this is just balancing broken promises of expensive towers and later difficulty. The later difficulty will never come. You that's that's like another implicit promise, right? Is that you have to care, like your choices that you're making here about like what you want to place down and how much income you want to go for matter. Because if you are too greedy or if you are underprepared, I'm gonna beat you. So with no real threat of ever being defeated, that also kind of, I bet it can kind of feel like your choices don't even matter. Because it's kind of, they kind of don't. As long as you make it past like wave 3 or 4, you're gonna be set for the rest of the game if you're actually spending your money. But yeah, I definitely knew about that. Just a bad time management thing. Theme limits. I think this is a decent score, but probably could be improved if also used theme rather than just limitation. Fusion upgrade system. And presentation. I think the core good thing here was the like aesthetic of the world like coming to life, the grayscale world coming to life. So I think that's why I got good marks on presentation. I feel like that is the most appealing aspect is you have just bringing color and life to this originally barren feeling world. Okay, yeah, yeah. So see, that's like what this guy's saying. Placing the environment forms a seam and increase the difficulty. Um, so here, specific bucketed notes. Growing the scene is good. I say growing slash painting. Uh, no difficulty curve is bad. Yeah, ain't have no difficulty curve. Fair. Oh, there's also, I'll say bug reports. There are hidden tiles. That's just a matter of like when I was placing the grid, putting them at like too low a Z or something. And then I just painted something over them. Okay. Yeah, very easy, satisfying, successfully see the environment come to life, same sort of notes. Um, yeah, more difficulty, not having an ending. No difficulty here is bad. Should also have bosses or more interesting final rounds. Touchpad, not recommended because your finger's gonna. Oh yeah, I guess you have to go back and forth and back and forth. So I'll say quest some kind of multi-select or yeah, multi-build. Same note here. Lacking a ramp in difficulty. Oh yeah, see, look how nice the playtester's game was. I don't know if playtester's the right word, whatever. Oh, and there should be request for indication of enemy path. All right. So yeah, I mean those notes kind of echo the notes I had under uh rating, I think. So I can also sort of go through a few of the ways in which this works. So let me go to the scene here. This UI selection group here is sort of this multi-purpose box that has a title, uh, 5 circular buttons, up to 5, I guess, description text, and then a buy button. The hope was this could be like an upgrade button as well, but obviously didn't get there. So yeah, I should probably rehide it so it's not hidden in the title screen. Oh, cool, it gets hidden anyway. So yeah, see like if I click on a cliff, it only gives me 2 buttons. It gives me for den and hill. Whereas if I click on flat, it gives me the 4 plants. And then also if I buy it, it hides these buttons. If I buy a den, it gives me a new set of buttons and it re-enables the buy button, but the buy button does something new now, where if I buy the thing again, where in that same like selected state. So yeah, it's all this one same UI that is being updated in real time. So let me show you some pretty bad code here. This is a grid select.cs, and it is one of the first things I wrote to try and just like say, oh, I can click on this grid. Look at what we got. It's controlling the selection UI, all the selection UI sounds. It's so this is for placing the game logic objects, placing the tiles, more game logic objects, more game logic tiles. So this is doing everything for modifying the grid at all, everything for placing towers. This is a 950 uh page line. Oh, okay, so here I can show you is where this is like the setting up the structs for all those UI. Like so here's the description text, how much it costs. Um yeah, and then I can reuse that for the selection UI. And these are all the Unity listeners, but so here's some hacky code redirect hover, which is if something is like a just sort of a visual supplementary tile, I wanted it to redirect to a different one. Or if you have like a tower on top of you, I want it to redirect to the tower. So this is just saying like, hey, if I am these 2 things which might be redirected, or these 2 other things that might be redirected, like also check the thing above me or below me for all these things. It's like super not great. This is some of the stuff I'd be looking to clean up. This is the same thing, only it's just like removing the same kind of like super hacky, it lists all the things that I don't want to click and just doesn't let you click them at all. Okay, so this is the core selection UI. Like if you click something, it'll have these four different functions it can go to. I think a good change would be to like make a base class out of this or something, or like just something I can override. So we can just say, hey, call my current show selection UI function. And then these just sort of they have the canvas group as like a global in the class, and then they just know the sort of indices they need to set up. So this is just using a helper function to hide buttons or show them and connect them to actions. And then those action. This is before I knew you could do the syntax of delegate, like delegate on click selectable impl wiregrass. That's something that C# supports. I just didn't know about. I think some of my other code does that after I learned about it. So you actually don't need all these forwarding functions. You can just, where you would connect the forwarding function, instead connect a delegate that passes the parameter you want. But yeah, so that's the idea is when it would, based on what you clicked, it would show one of these different things that just sets up the UI thing in real time with all these components it can work with. And that would connect listeners and everything. All of that is in here. The listener to buy a plant, the listener to buy an animal, the listener to carve out a cave and buy a cliff and put a hill. That's why this is so huge, which is not good. This is definitely game jam code that should be cleaned up. What else? Oh, enemy path follow. So this is how the enemy walks up the grid, entirely hard coded. That's how bad. You know what I did? I opened up my game. Oh, looks like I probably turned off debug text. Let me turn it back on. UI debug group. So literally all I did for this, which is like the worst of fucking hard coding, is okay. I use my debug text to say, all right, I know the cells of the edges. So I'm just gonna just sort of walk my mouse up the uh up the pyramid and just write these down and hard code them. So what they're doing though, here I can show. Have some go. They pick one of these three randoms, and then they can pick one of any of these five valid that are tiles to stop and go up. So for instance, they can only pick three if they were on these outer edge because it's got an edge here. But that's the idea generally, is anytime there's like a junction, they're picking a random location among the junction. So they would pick a random of these three, go up to a random of these six, and then after they go up, they would go to a random third depth, then again, random ramp to go up, and then they go through the middle. This was just, instead of having them go the same way every time, this is just having like some prime real estate to put your towers, because the fact that they go up two different paths is actually kind of difficult. Like most of the time in a tower defense, that would be like an intermediate level. So having them go through some shared prime real estate brings the difficulty back down. Anyway, so yeah, I was just saying like, okay, I want them to go here, 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 and I would just use my mouse to figure out what these tiles are and hard code them in here. Like, oh, if we're just starting out, we want to go to one of these three, so pick one and go to it. And so how this would work would be, you have a start position and an end position for each line you're walking in. And based on the start position, since it's ascending Z up the pyramid, since I know your height, I can kind of determine based on your start position what range of end positions you should shoot for. And then when you reach your end position, when you get close enough to it, you use your end position as your new start position. So it's kind of like there's a mapping of a range of start positions to a range of like next positions, like A to B, all the way up the tower. But this is another thing that should absolutely be fixed. If I wanted the ability to draw a bunch of different maps, maybe have increasingly difficult maps, this would not work. It would be an incredible pain to modify the map or modify the path. I might even have to unless it's a tiny modification, I would basically have to tear down and start over. So something better than this for sure. What else do we got here? Game State Manager. Okay, this is just for sort of winning or showing the next round button and showing the start screen, showing the loss screen if you ever actually got there. I can show it since just letting guys go through is probably the only way you'd ever see the loss screen. Manages money, lives, all the sort of global things are in Game State Manager. Grid Data Store. Grid Data Store, I believe this was rather... I think there are two basic approaches when doing tile map stuff. You either have complex tiles that like store data and have logic on themselves, or you have a parallel data store where I just have my arbitrary type in a dictionary where I use tile coordinates to index into that dictionary, and then I can just do whatever I want with my arbitrary type. Here's the game, the loss screen that no one will ever see unless they build nothing. Okay, what else we got? Grid Manager. I think this is one of the first things I wrote when I still had like the sparkle in my eye of wanting to make nice code. I think this is just handling the where basically your base is, where this little block of tiles you can't touch is, and also the coloring of the tiles, how it's sort of darker at the bottom and lighter at the top, and how there's a checkerboard pattern. Which I basically just did because if it's all the same, it just doesn't look very. It's here. I can show you. Get tint color. I just have to go to on gray grid and return true all the time, or false, I guess. So now it won't have the grid coloring. So you can see this. I think it has a clearer perspective of the depth, clear perspective of what's high and what's low. You know, the tiles are clearly demarcated. I think it looks a lot better, but if we reload the game, I think I'll just be this. Yeah. It just feels kind of bland. I don't know. It feels like it has less definition in space. I guess with the different tint colors, it's still I can make it even worse. Yeah, I could say return color.white. So yeah, but long story short, this is the script that is in charge of doing the coloring that makes the grid look a lot nicer, I think. This was not saved, I guess. Or I don't know. I shouldn't be messing with this. I think you get the point that the tint colors make it look better. It just looks like almost naked here compared to here. It'll fix again on the next build. Ah, so much better, so much better. Anyway, last one here. Oh, this is just the monolithic grid select. So yeah, that's the code. In terms of the game object side of it, it's mostly just using pre-existing stuff. So for example, this is well, I'll use a different example. So this is needle palm. This just shoots. This is just using like my general component library. So it has a target range acquire. That means, oh, I added isometric for this jam specifically. This is a new feature because Isometric has half the Y distance, so if you don't do this and it's like acquiring, it's like drawing its internal range circles and stuff as if it weren't an isometric grid, it'll just look incorrect. It'll seem like it's weird ovals. So yeah, updated this, but the core functionality of like doing a raycast and like finding some matching layer in the ray, some entity in the matching layer, um, and then saving it as like my target. I already had this, and then we had the spawn shoot target, which is just since shooting is like a derivative of spawning, it's in the spawn family. Um, yeah, it's just shooting at that saved target that it's checking with this range acquire script. And this timer index points to this timer, whereas this timer index points to this timer. The like core component system has a just basically a concept of reusable timers where you can just I know it seemed like such a common thing I was doing where I was like, okay, set my timer to 0 in update, delta time. Okay, if the time is greater than the frequency, do the thing and set the timer back to 0. So it's just like an abstraction of that little section of code that I found myself to be repeating over and over and over again. Projectile is nothing special. Damage other on trigger enter. So again, even like the enemies are using a common health thing. And they also have health listeners. HEL here is health listeners, so they can say on damage play this one sound, but then on death play this other sound or play this animation. Um, so yeah, the little bits of game logic I didn't really have to do much, and they're dead simple. Uh, so it really was all about the grid. Anyway, I'm gonna let's do some future plans here. Say code cleanup, separate out UI control from grid select, separate out purchasing things from grid select. Oh, I guess make enemy path follow general to allow for new maps or map changes. What else? I mean, I guess the obvious is difficulty curve. I think I want to go all like handcrafted levels, not scaling coefficients. Coefficients. Damn, I'll never spell coefficients right. Really, growing up in the computer times where I never really needed to spell things. There was like a point in my life where I said like, all right, I'm not spelling things anymore. And now I'm terrible at spelling. I wonder how could this happen to me? The results of my own actions. All right. Handcrafted levels not scaling coefficients, more enemy types. What else? Oh, I guess review costs and income. I'll say review tower stats, costs, and income. Or any other requests for indication of enemy? Oh, I guess I should do after code cleanup and difficulty curve. I should do like quality of life requests or requested improvements. How about path preview? And fixes. Invisible tiles. Path preview. Multi-select or multi-buy. And then we can re-add sort of cut features. Elemental upgrade system and tech tree. And I'm going to add a subnode here that's make design UI control base such that elemental upgrade and tech tree can easily slot in. And then sometimes I feel like levels have the script, at least in like, I don't know, I play a lot of Bloons Tower Defense, and a lot of those levels have like text, you know what I mean? Like first one coming up, nice and easy, or like first lead balloons coming up. So I'm gonna say level warning description text, because that also can like have a tutorial role where they say like, oh, I hope you have camo detection for what's coming up next. Then a person who reads that isn't confused when the camo pattern balloon goes right by their turrets, right? Level warning description text, I'll just say more enemy types react to elemental things like slow resist. Maybe not react, interact. Act with elemental things. Then I guess that it. Is there anything else I am missing that should go in here? I don't want to like build out an entire massive game, but I think I got pretty close to a decent like, you know, little web game here. And with maybe just a couple of weeks I could well, a couple of weeks after I clean up the code. Yeah. So yeah, I guess I got some good plans. Hopefully was interesting for anyone who's curious about. Unfortunately, I wanted to stream it. Would have been cool if I streamed it instead of just talking about it after the fact, but it was so under the wire time-wise that I just couldn't afford the time cost of streaming it. All right, I will. So starting on Tuesday, I'll be back to working on Peaceful Night, that jumpy vertical platformer. I think on next Saturday, I'm just gonna work on this code cleanup off stream, but I would like to get this to a point where, oh, I have another idea. I want to add another idea here in case I don't miss it. Lean more into environment. What's the word? More into environment aesthetic. Got positive feedback about visuals of bringing life. Take that further. By tower particle effect. By tower animation / particle effect. Elemental tower effects. Maybe even lighting? In theory, I could sort of, that gray tint could be a quick little lighting. And then, you know, it could be brighter near the fire. And that's more of the vibe that I think I got positive feedback on. And then also, but then do something with the background and have it scale with the amount of towers placed. Oh, and I guess under fixes, I should put color ramps and cliff edges based on adjacent. That's one issue I wanted to fix. I did not get the chance to fix. Where there are these certain tiles that are like corners or like don't really count as being something to place on. So this example are these ramps. I wanted it to be so that if like you put grass here or here, then the ramp would color up, but instead it's always black and white, which is kind of lame. It works against that aesthetic. And the other thing is these these like special corner cliff tiles also have that same thing. Where I want it to be, if you put like a hill and a den here, then these would light up as well. But didn't get a chance to do that. Color ramps and cliff edges based on adjacent. Okay. So, but also bring that further. Oh, and also change selection indication from color because you are coloring the tile. You can't see it gain its green coloring when buying something, which would undercut spawn animation. Use dotted lines or glowing or something instead to indicate selected tile. Okay. Sorry, yeah, I didn't want to, this is the thing where I'm writing the notes, so I didn't want to let a note go, even though I was in the middle of winding down here. So yeah, I think the plan here is to go back to doing Peaceful Night platformer dev on Tuesday. But then next weekend, off stream, work on code cleanup. Maybe 2 weeks of that, maybe one, maybe three. So somewhere between 1 and 3 Saturdays, clean up the code, get this in a good place where I can start piling some content and fixes on top of it, and then just start working through this list. Maybe I could do alternating Tuesdays, or maybe I could do some Saturday streams in there. But yeah, so this will be coming back sometime in the future. I just I don't know, the work of like moving classes around and fixing guts is like probably not very entertaining and doesn't make very good streamed or video content or whatever. So yeah, thanks for tuning in. If you did, check me out on Twitter, YouTube, places like that. I will be back with another stream on Tuesday at 6-ish, 6:30 Pacific. Back to working on the platform I haven't worked on in a week or two, but I've been working on a few weeks up to here. So yeah, I hope to see you then. Bye.